Hey. In around with and I need to do let's take a hike. Hey friends, can you hear me? Ooh, sound. Hey there, fools. Can you hear us? Worry that they cannot. Good. Thank you, William. Thank you. Stormers is celebrating a fantastic surprise drop today. Yeah. Detroit deer. Turn that down a little. Audio's good. Okay, great. Pumped up my levels just a little bit. Yeah, I know that is just a pain in the buns, but how about we do this? We'll go ahead and just turn that off because we got some stuff to talk about today. Lots of good stuff. First things first, let me play a little interlude that we've got, a little ditty about The Expanse. Here you go. Welcome to your next operation, The Expanse role-playing game Transport Union Edition. Based on our intel, this is nothing less than a game changer. We're equipping ourselves with a brand new core rulebook packed with everything needed to navigate the dangers ahead. With 3 new supplements come 2 new sets of dice. And yes, we can confirm gaming minis for The Expanse RPG. And for the new folks, welcome aboard. The Expanse RPG runs on the stun-powered adventure game engine. It's fast, easy to learn, and prime for action. Veterans, this edition integrates with all your past operations. The difference is more character options, more ships, more equipment, backgrounds, adversaries, and even more still. All of this takes place between the 6th and 7th novels for The Expanse by James S.A. Corey. We've identified 2 mission profiles: Free Navy Conflict and Demon's Gambit, a deep dive into the Transport Union era. And if it's more depth you seek, the Crew Companion is your go-to. It's a player's guide offering more character options and deeper insights into the universe of The Expanse and your place within it. And for the first time, official miniatures for The Expanse RPG. We partnered with War Games Atlantic to bring you 2 sets of miniatures, a set for the crew and another for spaceships. Your crew, your ships in the palm of your hand. Back The Expanse RPG Transport Union Edition today. There we go. Very, very nice. And let's not forget one thing. Look who it is. Howdy, friend.
Howdy.
For some reason, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Do we blow out the audio?
Yes.
I'm glad we do have the mighty Malcolm, but I'm, for some reason, Malcolm, not able to hear you.
You can't hear me? Blah, 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 blah.
Which is a curiosity. Okay. Why don't we do this while I'm futtering around with why I can't hear what you're saying? Would you do me a favor? Talk a little bit about Fantasy AGE Cthulhu Mythos, where it came from, why we're doing it, and I will at some point hopefully be able to hear you.
So the tale of Fantasy AGE Cthulhu Mythos goes all the way back to Cthulhu Awakens. So and Fantasy Age, because we were working on Cthulhu Awakens and the 2nd edition of Fantasy Age pretty much at the same time. But when we were originally planning Cthulhu Awakens, it was going to be a modern age supplement. But as we dug into it, it really started to spin off into its own thing, especially as we innovated with some things in Fantasy Age, right? So now in that process, when it was a modern age supplement, back when it was a modern age supplement, I contacted Jack Norris, who is our Fantasy Age developer emeritus, and asked him if he'd like to add a Fantasy Age section to this book. But once it became its own game, that kind of became a weird addition. And also, I started to see potential in it working as its own supplement. And we looked at various ways to implement this and eventually settled on doing something similar to what we did for Trojan War and for Modern Age Cyberpunk Slice, which is working in that sort of like working at this particular length. So this thing is 64 pages. And I like it. It's a nice length that allows us to concisely cover something. So we eventually got to it, and this is the result. It is 64 pages of resources for playing with Cthulhu Mythos themes and ideas and powers and such in Fantasy Age. So that's what I got so far, Troy. Can you hear me yet? Oh, perhaps not. So, in the book, we have some things that are going to be familiar to people who've looked at Cthulhu Awakens because, for example, the alienation system and some of the talents. Well, I mean, we want to bring the same features into Fantasy Age, so going and redoing the system would be pointless, right? However, we have a bunch of things that are new. One of the distinctive things, for example, is we have 2 new ancestries. One of them, the Deepblooded, which is in the picture frame here, is sort of the proto version of people who end up transforming into deep ones and other aquatic Lovecraftian quasi-human things. Right? The other one we have, the Dreamghoul, is here's the thing, right? In Fantasy Age, we have ghouls, and ghouls are one of our signature monsters. But our ghouls look a little different. They're not necessarily undead, although they can be. And they have like weird splitting open mouths and a couple of other, and they can burrow, and they have a couple of other like weird characteristics. So they're kind of a distinctive thing. Whereas the, ghouls in Lovecraft are a bit different. And so we've taken inspirations from Cthulhu Mythos sources and also just sort of extrapolated them in interesting ways. And we came up with the Dreamghoul ancestry, an ancestry that requires the flesh of intelligent beings to survive, but also has an interesting relationship with the Dreamlands. So if you know the mythos, you know that the Dreamlands are a kind of realm of thought, sort of. The true nature of the Dreamlands is one of those things that, isn't wholly settled, and that's a good thing. But when we get to the Dreamlands, one of the interesting things when it comes with dream ghouls, and why they're called dream ghouls, aside from to separate them from Fantasy Age's distinctive ghouls, is because they can decide whether the Dreamlands or the material plane are the real world, right? And they kind of have a balanced existence between the two, right? So they're the ones that you want when you're going to be going on Dreamlands adventures, right? Because they can travel between the two places much more easily than other characters, right? And like ancestries, previously called races in early edition of Fantasy Age, but like ancestries in Fantasy Age 2nd edition, we also have secrets talents for both of them, so that you can sort of lean deeper into their ancestral abilities if you want. Moving on from there, we have, and I hope you don't mind, one of the things sometimes you'll catch me feeling a little confused and unaware, and that's because about things that I've worked on, and that's because sometimes I work on these things and then it's months before anything happens with them, right? And I've already moved on to like the next thing, or the next two things, the next three things, right? So we move on to talents, and some of these talents are going to be familiar if you have Cthulhu Awakens, but not all of them. And we've changed some of the names because there are some possible points of confusion if we use those terms with Fantasy Age. And again, some of the specializations are also going to be familiar from Cthulhu Awakens, but because we are drawing from fantasy, we also have, for example, the Unconquered character, right? Who is a warrior who eschews civilized trappings to live completely on the basis of their own strength, right? And this is in no small part because among the wider circle that developed the mythos was, of course, Robert E. Howard. So we have definitely a sword and sorcery connection to the mythos that I think is pretty well known, but it's kind of neat to represent it mechanically.
Hello.
And hi.
Yeah, can you hear me all right? Yes, I
Yes.
can. We're doing it a different way, a more fun, extemporaneous way.
Were people able to hear any of what I was saying?
They were, yes.
Oh, okay, good. So
Yes.
just to catch you up, I have just finished going into the specializations in the book.
Excellent. Fantastic. Thank you for holding that. Well, what we'll do is we'll just pull this up.
Mm-hmm.
And where...
Basically, first chapter.
Now, Malcolm, it sounds like your audio is choppy now.
My audio is choppy now?
Yeah, which is weird because I'm not... I wonder if this is an internet latency issue because I'm on my phone. My other
Okay.
mic setup is just, out of it.
Yeah, hold on. It's the only way I can think of fixing that is to change networks.
Why don't you? Ooh, I'm getting a little echo. Why don't you do that real quick? I'm going to open the PDF, and we'll just take a stroll through it. All right, can you hear me, friends? I sound pretty good. Oh, there's Malcolm. Okay.
How do I sound?
You sound pretty good.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think the 5G on my router is dying.
Gotcha.
I forgot about that. Apologies, all.
Well, real quick, Stan, can you?
Yes.
I sound like I'm on the phone. Yeah. You just imagine I've called you. All right, great. Well, here we are. We've done it. We made it. Tell me what page I should jump to.
Chapter 2, which is a page, such a great page. I'll tell it to you momentarily, and that page is 14.
You're always withholding the pages.
Fantastic page, best page. Probably a terrible impression. I can't stand to listen to his voice.
I can't either.
Yeah. All right. So, chapter 2, exploring the mythos. And in that, we are getting into, some of the systems we use. And some of those systems are going to be familiar if you've done Cthulhu, if you own Cthulhu Awakens. So, but not all of them are. For example, we have a test for mundane fear.
Malcolm, hold on for just one sec. Sorry, I'm going to pause you just for a second. Are y'all getting the chipmunk vibe off of him? And Nate, I keep forgetting to turn off that super sticker stuff. Thank you for that. We don't need your donation. Yeah, back to Choppy. Did you end up swapping over to a new network?
To me, yes, I did.
I wonder why. See, because what's weird is that it seems like all of the sound issues are coming from our builders are not appreciative of this release. No, they're trying to silence us. Okay, you sound pretty good now. Let's just keep on keeping on.
Yeah. So, the fear system is new, for example, but we do use alienation from Cthulhu Awakens because it's a great system.
Oh, yeah.
And similarly, you're already going to be aware of relationships because they're in in Fantasy Age 2nd edition. But, we have, because personal external bonds are important in the alienation system, we've included Fantasy Age friendly rules for that. And, the rest of it is going through the alienation system and also talking about the Dreamlands, which I mentioned earlier with the dream pools. And that's basically all she wrote. So a lot of this stuff, if you have Cthulhu Awakens, it will be familiar to you, right? But if you're not, then you don't need Cthulhu Awakens, right? All of this stuff is designed to work with the Fantasy Age 2nd edition core rulebook without needing anything else. However, you could probably make it work with a bit of kludging if you have first edition as well. I mean, naturally, you should be getting Fantasy Age 2nd edition, a definitively improved version of the game. But failing that, then you can make this work. So moving on to chapter 3, which is on page 27. If I have you, Troy.
Yes, you do. You do.
Excellent. So yeah, if you go to page 27, then we get to some really cool stuff, and that is Mythos magic. And we do not use the rules that you may know from Cthulhu Awakens, and that's because the way the Mythos is represented in sword and sorcery stuff is a little different, right? One of the big differences is that in classic Mythos fiction, the magic, the spells, they don't necessarily require much in the way of expertise. You need a source to study. Sometimes you need things, times, places. But, part of that horror is being able to blunder into trying out Eldritch rituals and things like that. In the sword and sorcery treatment of the Mythos, being a sorcerer is a more definite kind of profession, right? Which, of course, blends in with the way we do things in Fantasy Age. So, if you're playing an arcane disciple, of course, you can cast spells without being a mage. But the Eldritch Arcana are like normal Arcana, except that you don't need to spend magic points on them, and they do weird things when you when you cast them to yourself, and sometimes to other people, and casting them gets more and more dangerous over time, right?
Hey, quick question for you, Malcolm. Are you running anything else on your laptop while you're doing while you're connected?
Just Adobe.
Yeah, Adobe might be the problem, honestly.
That's what I'm using. Thing.
I know. Yeah. I'm so sorry.
No,
it is.
No worries.
It's pretty rough to the degree that it sounds like you're underwater.
Okay, well, I closed it. I hope there's some eventual improvement.
Oh, listen to that. Yeah. Already it's better. Adobe is, notorious for its
Oh, I have a lot of RAM on this thing, so I am a little annoyed.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm speaking to you from a non-cheap laptop.
So much better. Yeah,
sorry.
Adobe.
Anyway,
I mean, gosh, I'm so
yeah.
sorry. Okay, so are you able to read off the screen? Do you want to make it a little bigger?
I can read off. I don't need the screen. I'm kind of getting familiar with it now. So yes.
Okay,
anyway, the way these work is instead of they kind of work a little bit like psychic powers in Cthulhu Awakens, except they're a little more dangerous. Where instead of paying a cost, you make what's called a price test to see what bad thing will happen to you as a result of casting an Eldritch spell. Right. In addition to those Eldritch spells, and we do have some new arcana, well, newish. Some of them come from other sources, but they were very mythos friendly, right? And for example, and some of them were originally presented as psychic powers in modern age. So they've been modified and expanded. So there are genuinely new spells in each of them. So for example, if you want to scroll down a little.
Right
Troy,
here?
Yeah, scroll down to the arcana. Keep going.
Yes,
we have various bad things. You also get a new set of stunts you can use with those spells. So we have, Eldritch Astral Arcana, and that's because, a lot of mythos stuff has that kind of spiritualist vibe. So we wanted to include that.
Cool.
And, we have expanded spell list like we do. Draining. So that is the, ripping life force out of people. That's an arcana.
Sounds like an X. Yeah.
Yes. And what else we got?
This is the draining arcana, and then radiant,
and then radiant arcana, which is dealing with radiation. Either radiation in a weird magical sense, or radiation in the real world. Your hair falls out and terrible things happen to you. Sense.
Actual, gotcha. Geiger counter style. Yeah.
So, but how realistic you make it is really up to you. So, for example, so that's the color out of space spell. That is, inspired by.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. And the spatial arcana, which is used for teleportation and space warping.
Oh, cool. Well, talk to me about space warping.
Well, if you want to crush someone by folding the space around them into a very tight box, you can do that.
Cool. Okay.
And you can also create like semi-permanent gateways between places. Right. Or trap
gives
someone.
Me a vibe of.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, it gives me a vibe of that sort of. You remember that really sort of trippy, almost fractal scene from was it Doctor Strange?
Oh, from Doctor Strange. Oh, yeah, it's my favorite part of Doctor Strange.
Me too. Yeah, one of my most favorite parts in movies. In modern movies, but it was just very, very cool.
So that's very much like astral stuff, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But there's also elements of like weird space warping stuff too, because you have that mirror universe, right? So there's there's some of that vibe in this, right?
Love it.
So these are the arcana we present, but if you go further along.
Rituals?
We get into rituals, and it's this great system Steve Kenson designed, where there's where you can take several forms of magic and then extend them. You may have seen a version of this in Threefold in the past, but we've tuned it specifically for Fantasy Age, right? So basically, if you have the time and components and are able to pass the test, you can cast.
Right. Ren says, I have a mage who would like to know about those rituals.
Yes. You can cast very big spells.
Nice.
And there are a couple of samples. If you scroll down a little, right. Materials, timing, all that good stuff that you need, whether places,
participants, audience. Yeah.
It all. So.
No, I'm at transgression.
Yes, and of course, everybody's favorite sacrifice.
Oh, that art.
Yeah, it's not bad. Scroll down a little more.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty. We get pretty crunchy here, but you generate potential and then you use it on various magical effects. So it's it's sort of like it's freeform in some ways, but programmed in another.
All right, so it's like step one, define the ritual. This is interesting. Gather the participants, and then use the subjects. Then you got the apply potential.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so, for example, you could take a spell that normally is a smaller area and make its area larger, right? With the area asset, right? So there's a bunch of this stuff that you can do. And if you go down,
I will.
You'll see some examples. So, we have different styles of ritual.
Okay.
Right. So basically that is the flavor of the ritual magic you'll be using.
I got you.
Yeah. And those have different elements. So so for example, Army of the Dead is an example of a ritual. If you go back up a sec.
There it is.
Yeah, just over that really disturbing picture. We really thought hard about including. So what Army of the Dead does is it allows you to make large amounts of undead instead of the piddly individual undead that you can make with the normal animate dead spell. Right? I
see. An economy of efforts, if you will.
So, it affects 128 subjects.
Oh, wow. That's right. For a whole day, you'll have them.
Yeah. It's not like a Sunday quartet of the dead, it's
right.
An army.
Right. I would say like a modest wedding party.
A wedding,
Yeah.
So if we go down a little more, what else do we got?
Surely.
You can another rich dark dreams. You infest people with nightmares. You make people hallucinate from anywhere in the world, and of course you summon.
Nice.
An entity, which of course which especially comes to mind when we're working on Mythos stuff.
Yeah. So are you summoning someone to aid you, or to, are they just coming to kick ass, or can I summon them and send them to your house?
Well, what it does is it combines the exoport and mind domination effects from two different arcana. So basically you teleport a creature into your presence and then control it.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Items.
So, yes. And of course we have a bunch of items, including grimoires. Again, these work differently than their counterparts in Cthulhu Awakens because, of course, we use different systems here, right?
This is gorgeous.
Yeah. Well, the book the Necronomicon pictures from Cthulhu Awakens because we liked it.
100%.
But the rules are new.
Nice. Friend said purchased. Thank you, my friend, for the support.
All right. So this is a way you can learn Eldritch Arcana. So one of the things I wanted to do in particular was create a kind of definitive reason for mages to go, hunt down magical books and things. So because you have Eldritch Arcana as a potential thing you can learn and ritual spells as a potential thing you can learn, it kind of motivates mages in particular to, start hunting down books. And hunting down books is a very Mythos thing, right?
Yeah. Hey, real quick, I want to say this just as we're heading into this is, friends, if you are hanging out in chat and you want to pick up your copy for $9.99, and you can do that by you take your phone and point it at that little QR code in the upper right-hand corner, and you will be transported directly. At least that's the idea. You'll be taken to the store where you can pick up your copy. I will also be dropping a link in chat so that you can do that as well. And we are, I'll ask later. But
yeah, this is just beautiful, gorgeous. They really outdid themselves with the layout on this.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty to look at.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Is that some sort of digital arcana? Are you talking about the?
What are you talking about?
I'm reading. Someone's asking the question. Hippo HQ, our buddy, our friends over in. They're in New Zealand, I believe. Is that right? Anyway, so is that some sort of digital arcana? Are we talking about that right there?
No.
I'm wondering if what. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Oh, I get it. You're talking about the QR code. I'm such a
the
dork.
QR code. All right.
Dude.
Yeah.
Usually I
So,
pick up on that. My bad.
Of examples, right?
Yeah.
And one of them is the Necronomicon, except your world might not have Latin in it, so.
Well, that's true.
Different name. All right. And the Rule of Yith, which relates to the Yithians, which we kind of cover a little bit in the GMing section. And I think that's like all the major points of the chapter. There are some other, I forget whether we put non-grimoire items in there too. We had not quite enough room for everything I would have liked to have chopped in. Yeah, that's it. So
I like this guy.
Yeah, so game mastering, we have some cursed ruins, but which ruins aren't cursed? You never see friendly ruins.
You never do. Yeah, maybe Disney ruins, I suppose.
So one of the things we didn't do was spend a lot of time talking about the actual mythology of the Cthulhu Mythos. And the reason for that is that the internet exists.
Yeah.
Right? So, we have an overview of it, but, do your research if you want to add other elements. And in fact, this is kind of a book for people who want to do their research as well. And Fantasy Age kind of has that lean because of the amount of home brewing
that's right.
Yeah, that we encourage, right? So we kind of start with an outline of the mythos, including a mention of Freeport, where a lot of mythosy things happen.
Yeah,
and Freeport is part of Fantasy Age's setting. It's something we're actually just talking about in a meeting today. Was how to emphasize that properly, right?
I like it.
So if we tootle down a little bit,
it'll do.
Elder gods, blah blah blah, and we have a great story guidance.
What page would you?
Yeah. So Jack Norris did this work, and this was actually the chapter that this book is sort of built around when we decided to make it its own thing, right? And talking about sort of the critical themes of the mythos, along with different concrete examples that you can pull as plot hooks, or can inspire you to do your own thing.
Nice.
All right. And
this is great. Yeah, this is great inspiration. Camping and yeah. Sufficiently advanced technology.
Yeah. So one of the things is that the division between magic and science is very hazy in the mythos, right? How it is less so in fantasy treatments, but maybe you don't want to be faithful to how it historically worked out in sword and sorcery, and we don't want to restrict you. We just want to provide those options, right?
Yeah. I love this paragraph on the weird is good. Yeah. And I just feel like age games in general, being sort of a really powerful collection of tools in a toolbox, it sort of speaks to the fact that mixing genres and subverting conventions and all that, like it just feels like that's at the heart of the adventure game engine.
Well, after we sort of, we kind of have a solid default fantasy game. And I think a lot of our current and upcoming work is about finding its weirdness, finding its particular vibe.
Yeah.
Like figuring out what, elves are to us, for example, right? So
Yeah, I love this. Do the
do that if
twist.
you
Yeah,
wanna-
that's fun. Yeah.
If you want to zip down a little more, then we get to
Yeah.
keep going.
Oh, sorry. I was just looking at that guy's mouth.
Yeah. Poor deep ones. Nobody likes them.
No, they really don't.
yeah.
Mythos sword and sorcery style, or
no, here. So then from here we get into new special existing and new special qualities for monsters to mythosize them, right?
Yeah.
To make them weird and eldritch.
I see. Okay, this is like the filter you would put them through to make them.
Yeah. So some
More
of
Cthulhu-y.
these, some of these are existing qualities that you'll find in the back of Chapter 9 of.
I'm glad you like it, World 3 Quest.
Fantasy
Thanks for
Age.
stopping by.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And some of them are brand new. If you scroll down a little bit.
Yep. New qualities.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy's so gross.
Yeah. And of course we have, it's really, really easy to convert monsters from Cthulhu Awakens. So easy, in fact, that Hal had to put that graphic in there because it just takes 2 paragraphs for me to do it. So if you have Cthulhu Awakens, you absolutely can convert those monsters to Fantasy Age without doing any real work, right?
Okay, interesting. So then you just kind of snap on these alien eyes or some claws or
Yeah, right.
I like that.
Or you make it amorphous so that it's gooey thing that can fit through small spaces. And
is this guy a gooey thing? Isn't he like a composite of a bunch of gross?
Yes, he's a composite of a bunch of vermin.
Got it.
What those are called.
That sounds like an act as well.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I love it, but this is great. Feral. Oh, I like that. Okay. Yeah.
So basically, you can take monsters and you can customize them.
Oh, many limbed. That's good.
Yeah.
Oh, trackers.
Yeah. And
hunting you
we
down.
sort of round things up with, if you want to create a creature with this role, add this template. And we have a couple of them.
I like this guy. It's a deep dweller.
And
these are, so we have the Eldritch template, the Starspawn template. What's an Amorphite?
Generic blobby monster.
Got
because
you.
Mythos is full of different blobby monsters.
It really does. It really is.
This is a small one.
Yeah.
This is a small one to get you started, right? So we've given you one because it's Fantasy Age, and foes are actually sometimes defeatable. We've given you a defeatable blob monster, but you can use the rules for beefing up adversaries to make them much, much tougher if you like, right? So you can scale these up using the rules in the core book. Right?
Got it.
Right.
Very cool.
We only have like a very small curated section of monsters because, we didn't want to make Cthulhu Awakens completely valueless to people who have both. And also because Fantasy Age is a lot more hackable for customizing monsters. So we have, a utilitarian one, the cultist, deep ones, which, are in Cthulhu Awakens because they are very common antagonists, especially in Fantasy Age because we have that nautical fantasy angle to the game.
So with the deep ones, do they have a culture and a society? I mean, they believe in gods and stuff, right? Like, are they?
Yeah, they do, but their gods are like especially big, deep ones.
Got you. Are they setting up a castle, or are they, like a city under the water, or are they traveling to our?
They have a city. They have underwater cities in Cthulhu Awakens. What they have in your game depends on you. In Mythos lore, they have a settlement near a reef near Innsmouth, right?
Ah, nice.
Where the shadow over Innsmouth comes from. So
very cool. There you go. Ariel with less hair,
yeah.
Knight of Yith.
And this is my favorite one because
look at his.
are basically bodiless aliens who go and they can travel through time by possessing individuals in different time periods, right? So this leads to a lot of fun stuff. So in this case, you know, we have a Yithian who has possessed somebody in your campaign, right? And we sort of presume that a bunch of Yithians have possessed people and organized this, you know, knightly order. Because if you know what the Yithians are all about, in the classic mythos, their whole thing is that they want to make sure that a certain future occurs that causes these beetles to evolve, and then they'll jump into the bodies of those beetles, like millions of years, right? So they don't want the world destroyed. And they might not want humanity destroyed, depending on how well humanity makes future beetles happen.
Right. Yeah, sure. So, it sounds they seem like, you know, barring the Beatles part of it, is they feel a little bit like the agents from the Matrix.
Yeah, they're kind of they kind of have that vibe to them, right? I mean, they're a bit tougher than non-possessed people. And, you know, they have technology, you know, because they can travel through time, and they are like, you know, and they're sophisticated aliens, right? They have, you know, they have a strange device that, you know, we would recognize as a handgun. Right?
I like that.
Which we call the Thunder Wand.
Thunder Wand. Okay, I like that. I see that here. Quick question. So this says
they're from the future, so they get boomsticks.
I love it. Or so there's Flee the Flesh, which talks about how they can depart their borrowed body and, you know, move on to the next wherever they're headed. Yeah. But when that happens, the person gets their consciousness back. Like, have they been awake and aware?
While a Yithian possesses your body, your consciousness hangs out. Well, in the classic mythos set on Earth, your consciousness goes to the distant past and hangs out in a lost city in Australia.
Okay.
With the Yithians of that period.
Okay, awesome. Now, do you know why you're there? Are you aware that that's happened, or are you just kind of...
apparent? The Yithians are known to be kind of nice for, like...
Oh, okay. Not cruel.
Aliens, so, typically, you just come back, you know, very weirded out, but, you know, not necessarily with your brains leaking out your orifices.
Right. Or seeing through the dimensions. Right. Yeah, I get it. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then, so that's then minions, of course.
Yeah. Not yellow ones.
Not the
yellow ones. These are people who, I think I always think of the movie In the Mouth of Madness. So I'm old. So I understand many people may not have seen In the Mouth of Madness, which is a John Carpenter horror classic, part of the Apocalypse trilogy that includes The Thing and Prince of Darkness. You should see all three of those movies, unless they would freak you out too much. But yes, one of the things that happens is in The Mouth of Madness, there are these books, these popular works of fiction that drive people insane, and they show up later, and they are, you know, they're violent, and they have mutant faces and things like that. So that's what a minion is. A minion is a person who's been so overwhelmed by the mythos that, you know, their body has been taken over, right? As well, right?
Got it.
So, you know, and we have different varieties, right? Some of them, you know, some of them might be reanimated, and you know. And speaking of reanimated, we have the last thing, and this comes from this actually comes from the fantasy end of the early mythos, which I forget where I found the reference from, but it is a monster in an actual work of fiction. That there's a monster in an actual work of fiction that inspired the Thanatosaur, the undead dinosaur. Because who doesn't want an undead dinosaur?
I really just kind of puts the punctuation right where it needs to be.
With, you know, and you know, and that's the book, right? It's
Nice.
a whole bunch of resources. Maybe you want to sweep back to the first chapter because
Is that like
I
page
talked through it
4?
and people didn't see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I love this image, by the way. This is such a great image. He's like, don't touch it. And she's like, uh-oh. Or
yes, we had a lot of back and forth, Hal and I, about how to represent don't touch the thing.
And then I love the ominous tentacles coming from the back. Like, yeah, they're in a bit of a pickle.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Looks like I'm in some trouble. Yeah.
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 So again, as I mentioned before, when you couldn't hear me, you know.
Yeah. All these good things.
Yes, the deep-blooded ancestry.
I did want to talk about the dream ghouls. Now, are they like a girl band, sort of a little green skinned and sort of singing together? Like
only I thought of that, Troy.
They're distinct from the flesh eaters.
No, like I said earlier, I have to I couldn't just call them ghouls because ghouls have a very specific identity in Fantasy Age.
Yeah.
Right. They're the dead white things with the multi-part mouths.
This right here, that's a dreamy ghoul.
Yeah. They're called dream ghouls because they are equally real in the dreamlands, in the land of dreams.
Oh, I see.
I don't know why I felt calling dreamlands the land of dreams was clarifying, but there you have it.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
But
okay,
yeah, anyway, if you can see, you may travel between the campaign world and the come back. Troy,
oh, sorry. Here we go.
Yeah, see, you can stop. You can travel between the campaign world and dreamlands by falling asleep or waking up, bypassing the usual. Yeah, normally you have an ordeal to go through to get to the dreamlands. But if you're a ghoul, you just close your eyes and go to sleep, and you're there. Or you can decide that the dreamlands is, from your perspective, the real world. And when you go to sleep, you go back to reality.
I like it.
Yeah, so it creates a kind of trippy element.
Stan says, tonight only, the Dream Ghouls with opening act, Bare Naked Ambitions.
So, all right, that's it. So we can zip down a little bit.
Okay. Well, we're just about gonna stop here. I really encourage folks to pick this up and check it out. God, its art is just off the chain. It's gorgeous. I love this treatment at the bottom. It is so slick. Lots of great new stuff for you to have fun with. People have been anxiously awaiting some new Fantasy Age stuff to play around with, and they got it.
Super cool, because this is not the only supplement of this size covering a focused subject matter that we will be coming out with. And in fact, there's going to be one that covers some material that I know some people have wanted for a long time. It won't exactly give them what they want, but it will give them what they need.
See, if you try sometimes, you just might find, that's great.
Oh, and last week I designed a compact variant of the Age system. So a new Age game. And that is going to be coming out along with a number of sample settings in the 3rd issue of Engine. So we're awaiting the 2nd, which I think is in layout right now. Yes, the 2nd is in layout right now. It's all the text has been done.
Beauty.
I saw some of you internet people speculating no more is coming, and you displeased me greatly because you are incorrect.
That's right. And I found them. I think I rooted most of them out and brought them to the light. But So
basically, the 3rd issue of Engine is going to have a complete RPG and 4 settings in it.
Nice. People love Engine. They absolutely adore it. It gives them both a little bit of that, what they, it's like getting the pulp mag or whatever, when you're a kid, it's really fun. And lots of people are very, very excited about it.
Yes. And of course, Swords of the Shadow Planet will be coming out of editing next month.
Ooh.
I
have a question for you. What do you think about maybe a little preview event, maybe over at the think tank?
Yeah, we can do that. I think that would be a great idea.
Fun. We should do that. I know people are very excited about that as well, and I will make sure to spread the word. But we'll come back with more details and dates and things. Malcolm, you've got some sword business.
It's
to tend
true. I
to.
have my fencing students are gathering in the backyard, so I have to go join them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought I'd get you out of here about 5 minutes early. Thank you for enduring all of the tech stuff, but we will get into this again. And fans and friends and people who are hanging out in chat, thank you so much. Make sure you pick up the Fantasy AGE Cthulhu Mythos, and have a great rest of your week. We'll be back on Monday with Mutants and Masterminds Monday. Until then, ta-ta. Goodbye.